49ers versus Raiders coming on up today for the final preseason game of the 2024 season. Yes, that means after this game, the San Francisco 49ers will be playing real football in the coming weeks. Now, will that be with Brandon Aiyuk? Will that be with Trent Williams? Who freaking knows at this point? But what we do know is that there's a game today. Jobs are on the line, and we're going to talk about who needs to step up to really have that last stitch effort to try to solidify their spot on the final 53-man roster. So we are going to talk about all things San Francisco 49ers versus Raiders today and whose job or who's going to be fighting for a job. So you guys already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat. Smash that like button, and let's get after it right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is good, everyone? I can't believe that we are already at this stage in the off season where we are talking about being one preseason game away from week one. New York Jets come to town. I believe, is this Sunday night football or Monday night football? I know it's a prime time game, but we got to get through this one first. And so obviously the San Francisco 49ers travel to Las Vegas today to play the Raiders. At one point used to be a crosstown rival. Today, honestly, it doesn't matter as much. I think that's one of the more unfortunate things about the Raiders moving out of the Bay Area is like it used to be the Battle of the Bay. You know, it just felt like the situation between the Raiders and 49ers was so much fun to go back and forth on. I don't know. It's the Raiders, man. They're Las Vegas. Who cares, man? Who cares about the Las Vegas Raiders? I don't care anymore because the San Francisco 49ers run the Bay. That's what we care about. So let's talk about the things to watch out for because obviously it's preseason. So wins or losses are irrelevant in these particular games. So we don't care about that. I could care less if the 49ers went 0-3 in preseason. Doesn't make a difference to what would happen during the regular season. What does matter is obviously the health aspect of it. That's the biggest thing. We want these guys to get in, get out, get healthy, get the work in, and be able to come out of this game without any substantial injuries so that we can focus on the upcoming season. So that's a given, right? So with that, we understand, at least as what it's been reported, is that the San Francisco 49ers will likely put out their starters for the first quarter and a half, maybe 2 quarters, depending on how Kyle Shanahan is feeling. I think what would get the starters off the field quicker is looking in rhythm, looking, just looking seamless. If the offense moving the ball up and down the field, a couple scoring drives, I think that would persuade. Kyle Shanahan to get these guys off the field sooner. If they're looking disjointed, if things aren't really coming together, they would probably stay out there a little bit longer just to get some things out there, work it out on the field, to be able to have tape on it, be able to coach it up and things like that. But as it's been reported by Kyle Shanahan, as we do expect, the starters will be out there for about a half. So Just want to see them get out of there healthy. And if there's anything that we're really looking for from the starters, is we're looking for, let's start with the offense. I would say rhythm. That's about it. Um, Obviously, you want to see these guys in lockstep. I don't imagine the 49ers are going to be showing much of anything in regards to schematics. So it's going to be very vanilla. I expect them to run the certain staples of their offense, and you just want to see them execute. You want to see all 11 executing on time, on rhythm, and just being able to move up and down the field. Obviously, you want to keep turnovers at a minimum, and that's really it. That's really all that I'm looking for from the starters. I'm going to say this preseason game, it's more impactful to the back end roster guys. It's more impactful for the guys who are fringe roster players who are trying to fight for a spot. So, again, starters wise, offensively, rhythm, no injuries, uh, get out of there unscathed, and we'll be all right. With the defense, too, this will be the first time that we get to see the retooled defense. And with them, we just want to see, honestly, a lot of the similar things with the offense. We want to see them getting off the field. We want to see them forcing the offense into third down situations. We want to see punts. We want to see those types of things. Um, no big plays given up, things like that. So defensively, same thing, injuries and just playing their game and getting off this field without too many issues. So not crazy thing that I really want to see. I know that somehow, some way, someone's going to make a big deal about this game, win or loss. And I think it's just important to remember that it is preseason and these games are more for, in my opinion, individual player evaluation than anything else. So that's how I treat it. Um, Gabriel says we're going back to that stadium. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't like that stadium. I really don't. It felt like I was watching a football game under the lights of a hospital. You know what I'm saying? Like I I really wasn't impressed. Because obviously I was credentialed for the Super Bowl, so I actually got to walk around the whole stadium before there's any people in it and kind of got to check it out. Like it's cool because it's new, but the aesthetic, like watching on the field, it really legitimately feels like you're watching a football game under hospital fluorescent lights. I'm not a big fan of that particular aspect of it. They have that ceiling that's like white and it allows like some sunlight to come through, but it comes through as this like stale or sterile white. Um yeah. Yeah. I didn't like that aspect of it, but other than that, it was fine. Um, so yeah, 49ers back at the site that uh I can I can picture very well. It's burned into my memory, all the things from that particular game. So yes, I'm honestly glad I'm not there. um, but regardless of that, let's talk about some of the guys that will be really fighting today. Okay, because we know starters, it is what it is. Want to see them get healthy, get out of there. Probably can't repeat myself anymore on that same thing. So let's go through where we've identified competition, not only competitions, but guys who are vying for a final roster spot for this game, and what makes this situation interesting. So let's go. We'll start with the quarterbacks, and we'll go all the way down the list. So Brock Purdy, obviously, your locked-in starter. No quarterback controversy. Look at that. You love to see it. But we do have a bit of a battle going on between Brandon Allen and Josh Dobbs. And to be honest, I think Josh Dobbs made this a lot more difficult for the San Francisco 49ers because early on in training camp, Brandon Allen was clear and away looking like the better quarterback. And you could tell that Josh Dobbs was kind of learning the offense and just like really trying to get his footing. And I think with Dobbs too, you can get a sense of how he's a bit of a gamer and things like that, and with how he performed against the Saints. So I think they're really comfortable with Brandon Allen with his command of the offense, his understanding of the offense. I mean, Brandon Allen actually has a cannon of an arm. I didn't even realize it until one day at practice. He uncorked some uh, 60-yard plus throw. And I was like, who was that? They were like, oh, it was Brandon Allen. I was like, geez, I did not know. I did not know he had that in him. But he's got an arm. He's a cerebral player. Typically is going to make the right decision, and he's really similar to Brock Purdy in that instance. So you don't have to change much of your offense going from one to the other. But Josh Dobbs obviously brings an element that you could use him as a runner. You see his ability to create and make second chance efforts. We saw the scramble ability. We saw him pull it and score on a zone read. And so that's an element that Brandon Allen or Brock Purdy aren't really going to be used. So it's an interesting battle. And honestly, I think it comes down to the 49ers keeping 3. And I think the 49ers will go into this season with Purdy, Dobbs, and Brandon Allen. I don't know if they would feel comfortable cutting either one of them and expecting them to come back around to the practice squad. And I do think that with the recent kind of PTSD that has come along with quarterback injuries, I do expect the 49ers to keep 3. But what I think this is going to be a great showcase for is Tanner Mordecai. Tanner Mordecai was a guy that I was just patiently waiting to see. Like, I wanted to see something from him before, I made an opinion on him. And throughout training camp, really seldomly used. And then towards, as we got the 49ers were getting ready for the preseason, you could see him get more reps, and you could actually see, like, okay, Tanner Mordecai does have a really good arm. Like, he has some zip on that ball. When he wants to get that ball from point A to point B, he can get it there in a hurry. And you're like, okay. Like, I honestly, based on just like looking at him, you wouldn't expect him to have a ton of zip on his passes, but he really does. So I don't think he's in a spot where he can make the roster, but he is a guy, if you can get him back around on the practice squad, I think he's a great developmental quarterback. So, but it's still a good opportunity for him to showcase, for him to put some stuff on tape. I don't think he's going to be making the roster, but just again, see what you got in Tanner Mordecai. I think the wide receiver position is going to be an interesting one to watch because I do not expect to see Christian McCaffrey out there on the field today. I do expect to see Jordan Mason. I believe Elijah Mitchell returned to practice this week, so I would anticipate. See, this, actually, I don't know what to think with Elijah Mitchell because he's been hurt a couple times. So I don't know if Kyle is going to want to risk putting him out there just for the simple fact of we don't want to get Elijah Mitchell injured again. So I'm curious to see what Mitchell's workload will be. What I'm really curious to see is Isaac Guerendo. I think this is going to be the first time that we're going to see Isaac Guerendo. I personally have not got eyes on Isaac Guerendo yet because he was hurt all of training camp. So I personally haven't seen Isaac Guerendo. So that is a guy that I definitely want to see. We've seen a lot of Cody Schrader, and with Cody Schrader, there's talent there. That's a guy that I think will have a hard time making the roster just because I think the 49ers keep 4. The 49ers drafted Isaac Guerendo in the 4th round, and they traded up for him. So with Cody Schrader, I do think he is worthy of being on a roster, but I don't think that he they just can't dump the investment that they've placed into Isaac. So as a result of that, I think Cody Schrader's best chance will be to come back on the practice squad, and that's the hope. The hope is you can keep him. I don't want another team to poach Cody Schrader. I'm not as dire. Like, for example, when Jordan Mason was an undrafted free agent, I was banging the table that it would be an insane mistake to cut Jordan Mason because he will get claimed by the Seattle Seahawks. He'll get claimed by someone that we didn't want him to go to. And it was a really tough decision because the 49ers had 2 third-round draft pick running backs that Jordan Mason was out playing as an undrafted free agent. And I remember coming on and doing shows and being like, the 49ers cannot make the mistake of cutting Jordan Mason, even if that means cutting Trey Sermon or cutting Ty Davis Price. I was like, there's no way. They can't do it. They just can't. And thankfully they didn't. And they actually cut Trey Sermon, who they traded up for in the 3rd round after one season in favor for an undrafted free agent running back. And that decision has proven to be the correct decision, as Jordan Mason looks to be your running back 2 as it stands right now. So thank goodness that that decision was made. It was one that I was weary of because I didn't know if the 49ers were going to do that and actually cut Trey Sermon, but they did it. And it turned out to be the right move. So with Cody Schrader, I do like Cody Schrader as an undrafted free agent, but it's not nearly to that level of Jordan Mason. It's to the level of, I think he can be a very quality pro player. He's a player that I want to see on the practice squad, get some marination, develop, and in a year, like probably next year, will be his best shot to maybe make the roster if Elijah Mitchell isn't there, right? So that's my thing with Cody Schrader is I want to keep him around. I just don't know if he makes the roster. But this would the thing is, if you put out Cody Schrader and he has a if he has a nice day against the Raiders, that could be enough to get him picked up by another squad. So that's something that you also have to consider. We'll obviously see Matt Breida. I like Patrick Taylor for the practice squad. Keyshawn Vaughn, he's okay. He's okay. We'll see. Obviously, from the wide receiver position, we are going to be watching a couple things because we don't really know. I'll ask you guys, how many wide receivers do you think the San Francisco 49ers are going to keep? I really do think the 3 quarterbacks and potentially 7 wide receivers is going to be a thing. They're going to have to pick and choose from either keeping 3 quarterbacks or 7 wide receivers, and they're going to have to make a decision on that. So that's going to be a fascinating one. We obviously know, as it currently stands, Brandon Aiyuk is on the roster, so he counts against the roster right now. It's Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing. So we know those guys are going to be on the roster. Now, this is what's going to be the fascinating situation regarding Ricky Pearsall. Do the 49ers put him on IR to start the season in order to keep a wide receiver around, if that makes sense? Like, if they really don't think Ricky Pearsall is going to return for week 1 at least, I could see a situation where Ricky starts the year on injured reserve and they keep another wide receiver that could potentially contribute. So it's going to be really, really interesting. But I'm saying the 5 locks are Aiyuk, Samuel, Jennings, Pearsall, Cowing. I do think they're going to keep 6 wide receivers, and I would say the 6th is Chris Conley. I haven't seen Robbie Chosen in practice, so I don't really know. I think it's going to be a really big day for Robbie Chosen Anderson. That's one guy that I think you have to look out for to see how he presents today against the Raiders. Obviously, you have Trent Taylor, who's clawing to make a roster spot. Ronnie Bell, who made the roster last year. Tay Martin is a really good wide receiver, just super underrated and was hurt at the beginning of training camp. I think Danny Gray, unfortunately, has probably I don't know if they'll be able to squeeze Danny Gray onto the roster. So I think Danny Gray currently is on the outside looking in. Kirkland is a guy that I would like potentially on the practice squad. If you can get Tay Martin on the practice squad, I like that. That's fine with me. So I think it's 6, and Conley would be my 6th, but I think they're going to have a real conversation about keeping 7 because I do think Ronnie Bell fits what they like in that room, especially as a blocker, especially as a special team contributor, and he does have an upside. And to me, I thought he had a good camp. He hasn't had a good preseason, but I thought he had a good camp. So that's where I think a big conversation will be had. Do we keep 6? Do we keep 7? And I think they're gonna debate about Ronnie Bell. So Ronnie Bell this is a huge Ronnie Bell game to me. Ronnie Bell has the opportunity to solidify a roster spot with a big performance, and especially kind of making up for some of the drops that he's had in preseason. So if Bell goes out here, he balls out, that could be enough to shift him onto the roster. We'll see. That's the way that I'm looking at it. In regards to the tight ends, I think right now George Kittle, Sauber, and Braden Willis are your 3. Obviously, the 49ers brought back Logan Thomas yesterday. It'll be interesting to see what their plans are for him. I don't necessarily see Logan as a guy who's going to be on the final roster. Definitely could be a practice squad guy, especially considering the fact that he's been a free agent. No one picked him up. So I would say he's probably best to be a practice squad guy. I don't know if there's anything Cameron Latu can do at this point. I think the Cameron Latu experience will likely come to an end. I would assume that if no one claims him, that he will be on IR. But I halfway assume he'll be claimed. I believe teams will see the fact that he was a 3rd round draft pick, and they will see, Alabama and Kyle Shanahan's scheme, and I think someone will take a shot on him. So I don't know if Latu comes back to the practice squad, but again, just an unfortunate rash of just 3rd round draft picks not panning out for the San Francisco 49ers. Thankfully, Dominic Pooney has changed the narrative of the 3rd round draft picks for the 49ers since Fred Warner was drafted. Because really, since Fred Warner was drafted, it has been a rough go in the 3rd round, a very rough go. I would have to say, like, outside of Fred Warner, the 3rd round has been the 49ers' worst. The third and first round have been the 49ers' worst rounds in selecting, which is unfortunate because those are prime slots to draft impact players. And just unfortunately, I know the first round one, obviously you've gotten guys like Bosa and Aiyuk, regardless if you like him or not. McGlinchey was a starter. He didn't miss games. and he played good enough. But that's where you want your first round guys to be home runs consistently, right? Obviously, Trey Lance weights that down. Javon Kinlaw weights that down. Things like that. But with the third round has been rough. Has been real rough. It's been real rough. Yeah, they missed on Solomon, unfortunately. Yeah, it's been a rough go for the first and third round draft picks for the 49ers. And unfortunately, I'm sure as you guys have heard, we're not off to the hottest start with Ricky Pierolo in regards to injury. This report came out yesterday from Mike Silver that apparently Ricky Pierolo has had shoulder injury concerns prior to the draft, and alluded to the fact that there is some worry in regards to how that lingers into the future. So that is, I know, the last thing that 49er fans want to hear. Oh, Reuben Foster. I forgot about Reuben Foster. But yeah, so with the Ricky Pierolo thing, I think a lot of reactions that I've seen are more so related to injury PTSD more so than just Ricky in a vacuum. I think if this fan base didn't suffer from severe injury PTSD, I think the Ricky injuries would be met with more I think it would be met with more patience, I guess is the word you could say. Um, I just think that this fan base is so preloaded with so much injury concerns and PTSD over the year that you hear that, right, and like everyone heard that and instantly thought of Javon Kinlaw. That's the point, is that there's a trauma response when it comes to 49ers fans and injuries, first round draft picks and injuries. So that's what that is, in my opinion. I think with Ricky Pierolo, he's proven to me that I think he's going to be a good wide receiver in this league. But again, he just got to be available. That's it. That's his only issue, in my opinion, is availability. And if he can get healthy, then we're good to go. I don't see any issues with Pierolo as a wide receiver. So we see. Tony said ESPN NFL Live just reported 49ers are trying to work out a long-term deal with Brandon Aiyuk. No way. Really? The 49ers are trying to work out a long-term deal with the San Francisco 49ers? I didn't know that. I never heard that before. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Oh man, I need to get a nickel. Hold on, look at my jar. Every time we get a report that's the same exact thing that we've already heard, we put a nickel in the jar. I got a lot of nickels. I got a lot of freaking nickels, man. I'm tired of collecting nickels. I do not want any more nickels. I'm tired. You see it. I'm tired. I'm tired of collecting nickels, man. I got too many nickels. Too many nickels. Why would someone need this many nickels? Come on, man. They said his cuss jar. They said, "You did your chores, Brad?" Nah, I didn't. I didn't. I don't have to do chores anymore. I figured out I can get my income through collecting nickels for Brandon Aiyuk updates of the things that we've heard already. So I'm playing at home. I'm playing at home now. Oh, good stuff. Is that BA's signing bonus? Could be. It could be. Brad's coins for laundry. Oh God. Yeah, there we go. That's the recycled can money right there. Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. We gotta laugh to not cry, right? We gotta laugh to not cry. That's where we're at in the current trade saga uh, of where we are at. Yes, this is recycled report money. They are feeding families though with these recycled reports though. So good for them, I guess. Um, all right, let's get back on track. Let's get back on track. What are we talking about? We're talking about offensive line now. Let's talk about offensive line. Obviously, Trent Williams. Uh, honestly, I'm gonna say like the guys that I feel most comfortable with on the offensive line right now are Trent Williams, who's not here, Dominic Pooney. Dude, how is Dominic Pooney already the second best offensive lineman on this team? That's what I want to know. That's wild in a good way. But I would say I remember. I remember that very well. Um, I would say that Dominic Pooney right now is currently the 49ers' best offensive lineman that's on the field. Colton McKivitz is right there in second. Um, after that, I mean, Brendle hasn't really played that much. You might have to say Zakel through preseason. Like if we're evaluating preseason games, uh, might have to be even Zakel. But I'm interested to see what Jake Brendle looks like. So this is one of the things that I'm going to be looking out for. Okay, for the offensive line. Now I do imagine that Zakel will be the starting left guard today. And then, of course, Jalen Moore will be your starting left tackle. What I am going to be keeping an eye on is if they pull Brendle at any point and they put Zakel with the starters at center, because I feel like that the 49ers have been toying with the idea of a center competition. Now, nothing's official, nothing's confirmed or anything like that. It's just I've been watching the rotations at practice. So I do believe that that's one thing that I'm going to be keying on is Brendel going to play every snap with the starters, or do we see them try to rotate in like Zakel potentially at center? They put Ben Barch at left guard. I'm very curious about that. So Brendel and his rotation is something that I will be keeping an eye on. Um, The left guard, like I said, though, I do expect Zakel to get the start at left guard. I'm curious to see if he kicks into center with the starters. So that's one thing I'll be looking for with the starting offensive line. Um, I don't expect Spencer Burford to be playing. Chris Hubbard, to me, I think has made the roster as your swing right tackle. Uh, Guys that obviously we'll be keeping an eye on is Jarrett Kingston, Drake Nugent. I really like Alzik Alason. I think he shows potential. I think he's raw, but I see the potential with him. He's a guy that counts against the international roster exemption, so that's a good thing. Um, but he's a guy I like to continue to develop. I think we're really watching a potential who gets the last offensive line spot, Zakel or Barch. I think it's Zakel at this point. Um, but I do expect the 49ers to keep 9. I, 9 is a little bit rich for me. Typically, I'm used to them keeping 8, but I would be surprised if they kept 10, just because the numbers are so difficult to really justify keeping 10 offensive linemen. So I think they keep 9. But again, Feliciano will start off on IR. Burford's hurt. Banks is hurt. So it'll be fascinating to see if Burford or Banks starts the year on IR. I think there's definitely something that we got to keep an eye on for how the 49ers manage IR now that you can activate guys on IR who were placed there before the season starts, which you couldn't do before. So I think you could see some roster shuffling using IR, knowing guys can come back, but it allows you to make sure you're insulated because you do have injuries. So that'll be the fascinating scenario. Does Burford end up on IR? Does Banks end up on IR to start the year just to keep a Barch? We'll see. We'll see. But Barch is going to be Barch and Zakel are basically the two guys that I'm watching. Jarrett Kingston, I'll keep an eye on. Nugent, I'll keep an eye on. But for me, it's Barch and Zakel who are kind of battling it out for that final roster spot on the offensive line. I do think Zakel has definitely the upper hand by a wide margin at this point. But we'll see. We will see. All right, let's go to the defensive side now. Defensive side, Nick Bosa, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, Leonard Floyd. I really want to see those 4 guys in action, see how they operate, see what the rotation looks like with Yetur Gross-Matos. As Yetur Gross-Matos play in the 3-tech, bump outside during base downs. I just want to see how Chris Kosurik operates the rotation because it's so new. We have so many new defensive linemen that I just want to see what that operation looks like. So Robert Beal, I think this is a huge preseason game for Robert Beal because let's face it, Nick Bosa, Leonard Floyd, to me, YGM is he's a chess piece. You can use him inside, you can use him outside. He's not a prototypical pass rusher, but outside of that, you got Alex Barrett, you got Jonathan Gavin, Sam Okwuonu. You don't have a ton of depth at that position, so I really do think that someone needs to step up from a defensive end standpoint. I need to see something from Robert Beal. Can Alex Barrett double down on his preseason performance, put up another good performance, and finally make the final 53 man? This dude has been a lock for the practice squad since 2020. He's played in real games. They've called him up. They really like him. I like him. He can play inside. He can play outside. He's more of an inside guy. But can Alex Barrett squeeze his way onto the final roster finally? Maybe. Me and Aponte kind of went back and forth on this one. In my final 53-man projection, I had McGill just because you have Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott. I feel like you need an additional interior guy. So I had McGill just because he's more stout as a nose tackle, kind of a run stuffing guy. And I do think the 49ers need that. So I had McGill making it. It could be Barrett. It could be Evan Anderson. This is a big one for Evan Anderson. Can Evan Anderson force his way onto the roster as the interior defensive tackle depth. That's a big one because obviously Kalia Davis getting hurt is a huge blow to their depth, especially with him playing well. So this is a big preseason for, I would say, those four guys: Alex Barrett, Evan Anderson, T.Y. McGill, Jonathan Gavin. You can throw Nick Williams into that mix. But those guys are fighting for that last depth spot on that defensive line. So it'll be fascinating to see who comes away with that one. Also, too, when we look at the linebackers, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw will start on PUP. Devondre Campbell, D. Winters, and then I think after that, it's subjective. You have four guys fighting for. I had the 49ers keeping 5 linebackers just based on how everything panned out from a numbers perspective. They could potentially keep 6. I think they would like to keep 6, but I had them keeping 5, which meant that was a tough cut for someone there. I kept Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. I know Curtis Robinson has had a strong camp. I also kept Jalen Graham. Those were the guys that I kept. That meant Robinson and Bethune were on the outside looking in, coming back on the practice squad, hopefully. But this is why I think this is a big preseason for the linebackers, is because I think ideally, in a perfect world, they would keep all 4 of those guys. They would keep DFF because of what he does as a special teamer, his comfortability within the system, the locker room presence that he has, being kind of a glue guy inside that locker room. Jalen Graham, obviously tons of upside. He could really be a player probably in about a year or 2. And then Curtis Robinson had a strong camp as well. And Tatum Bethune, 7th round draft pick. So it's really up for grabs. I had DFF and Jalen Graham making it. Could be wrong. It could be Curtis Robinson and Graham. It could be Bethune and Graham. It could be Robinson and Bethune and no DFF and no Jalen Graham. So it could go either way. I think this is one of the more intriguing battles is for the final linebacker spot, or the final 2 linebacker spots, and what the 49ers are going to do. So that's, to me, a really big position battle that I will definitely be watching tonight is the linebackers. Cornerback wise, Charvarius Ward, Deommodore Lenoir, we know, right? Sounds like Renardo Green has earned cornerback 3 snaps. So those seem like your top 3 guys right now. Obviously, from what we've heard and seen, is Isaac Yiadom is still injured. So not anticipating that we are going to see Yiadom tonight, but I do think Yiadom has earned a roster spot. I think he belongs here. So I got Ward, Yiadom, Lenoir, Green. I do think Darrell Luter sticks around. He's a 5th round draft pick last year, effectively kind of a redshirt year with injury. So I do think Luter sticks around, and I do think they keep 6. So the battle is between Rock Ya-Sin, Samuel Womack, Chase Lucas, Ambry Thomas, probably going to be an IR candidate, or potentially even just waived with the injury designation. But I do think the final cornerback battle is between Rock Ya-Sin and Samuel Womack. And this one was a challenging one for me because Samuel Womack is young. He's got upside. He's proven to be a great special teamer. I think he has a ton of potential. He's kind of slid down the roster, the depth chart in the last year or so. which again kind of feels like an indication that the 49ers don't trust him, especially last year. They were going through so many issues with that third cornerback. He didn't even get a shot at it. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, man, they didn't trust him last year to even put him on the field. They would rather put a guy who's fresh off a luxury cruise ship on the field than Samuel Womack. So to me, I'm just like, I don't see that as them having a ton of trust there. And so Rock Sin has had a pretty solid camp and preseason. So I'm more inclined to believe the 49ers would want a more veteran presence in that spot. So you get your rookie in Renardo Green, you get your second year player in Darrell Luter Jr., and you have two of the veterans, Yadam and Yasin, to support Ward and Lenore as your top two cornerbacks. So that's how I see it. I would see Womack if he doesn't get poached. I could see Womack going to Washington. I could see Womack going to the Titans. Anywhere that 49ers have fingerprints in the general manager suite, I could see them picking up Womack based on the potential that he has. So that's one of the challenges. But I think if you really are concerned about playing one of these guys this year, you have to go with Rocky Sin at this point. So again, the hope is to get Womack on the practice squad, just no guarantee there. And then with the safety position, I think we're good at safety. I think, the hope is that Talanoa Hufanga is ready to go at the week 1, and he's brought back next week. And then it's going to be Jair Brown, Hufanga, Mustafa, and Odom. Those are your top 4 safeties. I'm cool with those 4. I think those 4 make sense to me. Taylor Hawkins just got released. Tracy Walker they added. I like Jalen Mahoney a lot. I want to see Jalen Mahoney come back on the practice squad. So I think the four safeties are locked. They're locked. No questions there. Tracy Walker, Jalen Mahoney, potential practice squad guys. Other than that, I think we're Gucci at safety. I'm actually pretty happy with our safety depth, considering George Odom had a pretty phenomenal camp. So I'm good. I'm good with safety. So other than that, we have a huge battle developing for punter. I'm just kidding. We don't. Even though I don't even know his name. No disrespect to him. And while I'm joking about the situation, he's actually punted really, really well. Again, Aponte and I were kind of joking. He's like, it's kind of proving the point of why maybe you just grab a punter as a UDFA or off the streets. But again, we like Mitch. Mitch is he's a good teammate. Loved in that locker room, and he does a good job. He's a great punter. So no competition there. But again, the punter that they brought in has played well. Presley Harvin, I think his name is Presley Harvin. He's played well. He has. But it's Mitch's job. So no problems there. Also have a massive competition developing at long snapper. No competition. I'm just having fun at this point. So Tabor Pepper, Jake Moody, Mitch Wisnowski are your 2 specialists. And again, the guys who are like competing right now for like punt returner, Ronnie Bell, Jacob Cowing, Trent Taylor, those are guys that more specifically Ronnie Bell and Trent Taylor could squeeze their way onto the roster. Again, it's a numbers game at the end of the day. So we'll see. We will see how that all plays out. But that's my read on the entire 49ers roster. That's my read on where I think the main competitions are heading into this preseason game. Those are the guys that I think that are still, so the main competitions are, I would say, the final two at linebacker, the final spot at cornerback, the final spot at defensive tackle or defensive end, the final spot in the O line room. I think tight end's fine. The final spot, if they keep 7 in the wide receiver room, if they keep 6, I think the 6 is pretty much locked, barring Ricky Pearsall starting the season on injured reserve. Um, I would say the guys that are truthfully fighting for a final spot would be Trent Taylor, Robbie Chosen, Ronnie Bell, and Tay Martin. So those are my 4 that are truly competing for that final spot. And yeah, I think that's really it, which is it's also a good indication of our the starters, but obviously you want wide receivers out there. My wide receivers were Aiyuk, Samuel, Jennings, Conley, Pearsall, Cowing. So I have them keeping 6. But if they keep 7, it's between Trent Taylor, Chosen, Martin, and Bell. And I honestly I would say I have Bell at the front of that group. I haven't seen Robbie Chosen in practice, so I can't speak on that. Um, so I think from an outside perspective, it'll be fascinating to see what Robbie looks like out here. But yeah, that's what we got. Other than that, I could care less if we win or lose, even if it is against the Raiders. I really don't care. Um, I don't care about preseason. This will be the Raiders Super Bowl, though. Just be prepared. All these Raider fans, oh my gosh, they are going to be loving life if they beat the 49ers in a preseason game. I do not care. Even if we win, I don't care. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm not concerned at all about wins or losses. I'm concerned about who's going to win these roster battles. I'm concerned about who's going to uh, take that step and no injuries. No injuries. Who's going to win those battles? That's what I'm looking for. And just hoping, obviously, that the 49ers don't look atrocious with their starters. And that's it. It's really it. So we'll see what happens. I'm just happy that preseason's almost over. Can't believe we're about to be done with preseason and we still don't have resolution with Trent Williams or Brandon Aiyuk, but I'm not surprised. I really cannot say that I'm surprised, even though I am. But I'm not. But I am at the same time. But I'm not surprised. But I am surprised, but still not surprised. So because that's the life of a 49er fan. Is just ongoing off-season drama. It's what we've become known for at this point. I saw a report by CBS reporter that was mocking the 49ers offseason with Brandon Aiyuk. like like legit big time media is mocking the crap out of us. They're like, you guys are ridiculous. I'm tired. I Kyle Shanahan said potentially the whole first half. Um, could be middle of the second quarter. It does sound like they are planning on playing quite a bit. So just hope for no injuries. That's what we're looking for. No injuries. Please, no injuries. Uh, Brad, remember when you said the corner from Iowa before Slick Rick? Oh yeah, I do. I'll never forget that. When when Michael Silver reported the wrong player was drafted. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. That felt like the 49ers were trying to figure out who's giving Mike all this information. And they said, "Oh, we're taking Cooper DeJean. Send that over to Mike." He's that was crazy. That was crazy. Good times though. There's never a dull moment with this team. Not one, not ever. Um, yeah. The second that there's a dull moment with this team, that means hell's frozen over. But that won't happen. Oh, Justin's got picks on the line. Info trying to decide between Lawrence or Purdy. I don't know. I don't know, honestly. I think I would be conflicted with where I'd go with that. I think logic would tell us that probably Purdy, but I don't know. I don't know. Do I think taking Ricky was a mistake? I think it's way too early to determine if it was a mistake or not. Um, I've seen a lot of people, upset about what's been going on. But I think it's way too early to make a determination one way or the other because from what I've seen of Ricky Pearsall, he looks good. He looks like he's going to be a good wide receiver. He just has to stay available. That's really it. That's really it. So that's why I'm not necessarily concerned. Obviously, you get a little concerned when you hear like, "Oh, he had this issue before and he's having it again." Now they're a little worried. That is where some concern starts to pile up, but I think it's way too early to call Ricky Pearsall a mistake. Obviously, if he never plays a down for the San Francisco 49ers or is just consistently unavailable, yeah, we'll be having that conversation for sure. But I would say that any conversation right now about that would just be a little bit not a little bit, a lot of bit premature. Um, because you gotta wait and see. And also, too, we know is one of my main things why I didn't love the idea. No, I never mocked Ricky to the 49ers at pick 14. um, the thing is, it's like we already know that rookie wide receivers have a bit of a learning curve in Kyle Shanahan's scheme, or at least historically. So even if Ricky was a good, like is turns out to be a really really good prospect, I still don't expect Ricky Pearsall to have a 1,000-yard season as a rookie. Like I don't expect that from him. Um, as a first round draft pick in this system, in this scheme with these weapons, no, if he produced like 300 yards receiving as a rookie, you'd be like, all right, that's not bad considering the fact that Jawan Jennings, who's your number 3 last year, had less than 300 receiving yards. So that's the thing. I do think the volume of passing goes up this year, and I do think they spread out a little bit more this year because of Brock and what he's capable of. Um, but I still think they're going to be at the bottom of the league in pass attempts and things of that nature. So, you know, I'm not like if you're expecting Ricky Pearsall to produce 800 plus yards this season as a rookie before injuries, I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment. I think if you kind of contextualize the fact Juwan Jennings is your wide receiver 3 and he had like 230 receiving yards in the regular season, that should try to like set the context that Ricky is, again, if healthy, if ready to go, probably still isn't producing above 500 yards receiving this year. So if he does, fantastic. I'm not expecting it at all. Same thing goes for kind of Jacob Cowing. I do think Jacob Cowing could be a guy that definitely is relied upon as a rookie, but still same thing, overall production. I'm not expecting Cowing to be necessarily fantasy relevant, barring injuries and things of that nature. So why get him so early? Hey, you like a player, you go get him. It's just how it goes. You know, I can't speak to that because I'm not in that room. You know, they obviously have a level of scouting that goes beyond what I can produce as a guy who doesn't have meetings with them and, doesn't meet the prospect and all that kind of stuff. So they saw something, they liked it, they went and got him. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. They clearly felt that maybe there wasn't a trade back scenario that worked, or that they didn't want to wait into the second round to grab a wide receiver, because there was a lot of wide receiver talent at that kind of back end of the first. So they went back to the well, kind of like what they did with Brandon Aiyuk, and they did it with Ricky Pierolo. And again, it doesn't mean just because Ricky's having injuries is less of a concern of Ricky's ability and just more a concern of his availability. That's really it. I'm not looking at Ricky Pierolo as like, oh, this guy's a fraud, like we're on bum watch. Like, no, I think he's a good player. I think we just want him to be healthy, and we want him to be concerned, and we don't want to be concerned with his health and things of that nature. So we got Raiders fans in here. What's going on, Raiders fans? Welcome on into the San Francisco 49ers live. But hey, if you guys won today, congratulations on winning your 2024 Super Bowl. I'm going to congratulate you guys in advance because I personally don't care if we win or lose this game. So I will congratulate the Raider fans in the chat on winning their Super Bowl this season, which typically comes in the preseason, which is pretty standard operating procedure for Raider fans. So I get it. I understand it. I'm right there with you, Raider fans. You guys are terrible and have nothing to look forward to. So I get it. I understand. You guys can take your victory lap now, before the game if you want. And I'll let you run wild. You can go crazy. You can yell Raiders. You can do all your things that you do, like the Raiders. The autumn wind is a Raider. You can do all your things. I don't care. You can come back to our live after the fact, and you can just win, baby. Just win the preseason, baby. I get it. It's your Super Bowl. I understand. Congrats to you. In advance, or sorry, in advance. Either one doesn't matter to me. But I guarantee you set your watch to it. The Raider fans are going to go stupid, crazy, doo-doo dumb if they win this game against the San Francisco 49ers. They're about, oh, the Raiders. The autumn wind is a Raider. That's what they're going to do. And they're going to come in here and say, how about them 40 whiners? How about them 40 whiners? Raider fans are so predictable, dude. They're the most predictable fan base in the league. It's not even up for debate. They're all operating probably off of a combined 3 brain cells. It's fine. I get it, you know, whatever. But yeah, man, the autumn wind is apparently a Raider. I like to say the autumn wind is a fart. Like a oh, what is that? Oh, it's the Raiders because they stink. We haven't had some Raider slander on the chat channel in a while, so thank you for showing up. Oh God, let me look. Let me go up. Oh, see that right there? Battle of the Bay. That's when uh, Nick Mullins got his first ever career start and absolutely eviscerated Derek Carr, Amari Cooper. Did you guys still have Khalil Mack, or did you make that phenomenal decision of trading him away yet? I can't remember. But 2018 Battle of the Bay, left the Bay with a tail between your legs. 34-3 Bay champions. Cry harder, Raider fan. Cry harder. Cry harder, Raider fan. Well, don't worry about you, Raider fan. Your Super Bowl's today because y'all ain't winning nothing in the regular season. They're like, playoffs? Playoffs? What's that? We win our Super Bowl in the preseason. Playoffs? What's the playoffs? I've never heard of that. Maybe we could go sign Jamarcus Russell and he can bring us back to the promised land. Maybe Darren McFadden or maybe a Darius Hayward Bay potentially. Maybe one of those guys, you know, just why not? Bring them on back. See if we can make something shake. You know what? Let's bring back Marshawn Lynch for a 17th time. See what happens. Or maybe you can take Jimmy Garoppolo back. Raiders. Y'all stink. Y'all stink. I love talking crap to the Raiders. Me talking crap to the Raiders right now made me realize how much I've missed talking crap to the Raiders. Again, it just hasn't been the same. You know, some of my best friends are Raiders fans. So when it comes to Raider slander, oh boy, oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. You turn me up on some Raider trash talk. I'm in there like swimwear. I love talking trash to Raiders fans. Oh my gosh, I love talking trash. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing. But again, it doesn't mean the same anymore because you're not in the Bay. So like, okay. What are we talking to? Las Vegas fans? Who cares, man? Who cares? Enjoy your toilet bowl stadium with your hospital fluorescent lighting. Literally feels like you're playing in a sterile hospital. Uh, unfortunate. Unfortunate. see, that's why this works, Aaron. We know what it is. We're in the Bay. If you're in the Bay, you're either a Raider fan or a Niner fan. There's a lot of crossover. Like I said, a lot of my best friends are Raider fans, so we stay talking or we used to. Now again, we used to. It doesn't even hit the same anymore. It's like doesn't even hit the same anymore. That's the most unfortunate thing about it is like we used to be able to just trade jab for jab with the Raiders, but Raider fans, but it's just like it's not even fun anymore. You guys are in Las Vegas. It's not even that fun, you know? Not even that fun, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Yes, I unfortunately have friends that are Raiders fans. This is true. I will say though, my favorite moment uh, that I could join with Raiders fans, it was so much fun. It was my friend. So my friend uh, took me to a Raider. Like he's like, hey, you want to go to the Raider game? I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm down. I like football. I don't even care if it's the Raiders. I'll go. Um, so we go to I think it was opening night, prime time at Oco Coliseum, and that was the year of the not Brandon Aiyuk of the Antonio Brown saga. So at that point, it was at its peak of all the drama with Antonio Brown, and the whole stadium, the whole game, whether in the bathroom, whether in this like the main area of the stadium, walking through the concourses, all fans were screaming was FAB over and over again. Sitting in Oco, having the whole stadium filled, chanting FAB. I was like, dude, this is fire. I was like, this is cool. Like, respect to Raider fans on this one. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. But with what Antonio Brown had put them through that whole off season, and then the whole stadium, just the whole game, full throttle, FAB across the I was like, this is cool. I like that. I like that. I'll take it. Okay, Raider fan. Okay, Raider fan. One of the rare times. So funny though. Good stuff. So that's what we got. I'm glad we got a little Raider trash talk there at the end, though. That was kind of cathartic. That was kind of cathartic. I needed that. I didn't realize how much I needed that. But it's been a while. I think I need to text. I think I need to text all my Raider fan buddies now and start talking trash to them. All right, guys. I'm out of here. We got the game at 7. I'll probably do post game stuff, all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But appreciate everyone. Smash that like button on your way out. I'm out of here. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.